Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, for checking out the series. Of course, please do hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week. It's a new one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's a great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover those new ones. Of course, you can find us anywhere you get your podcast from, including Spotify, Apple Podcast, NPR, WFPK.org, Consequence, or right here on YouTube for the video versions. Just anywhere you get your podcast from, you can subscribe to Kyle Meredith with. And that's me, Kyle Meredith. Today, catching back up with Mike Campbell. You know Mike from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, guitarist for the Heartbreakers. He's got his band, The Dirty Knobs. They have their 3rd album, Vagabonds, Virgins, and Misfits. It's a good album title. We're going to be talking about expanding their rock boogie sound. It's a much bigger sound this time around. He's got some cool guests on the record, including Nash, Lucinda Williams, and Chris Stapleton, who not only is on this record, but Chris Stapleton's also on the country tribute to the Heartbreakers. So we're going to be talking about that tribute as well, which Mike also participates in. In fact, he covers. He wrote the song. I don't know how you say that. Ways to be Wicked, anyways. I want to hear why that song is stuck with him for so long. We're going to hear about reuniting the Heartbreakers when they backed up Bob Dylan at Farm Aid just last year in 2023. All that and more as we discuss Vagabond, Virgins, and Misfits. It's Kyle Meredith with Mike Campbell. Vagabond, Virgins, and Misfits. It is so fun. Everything that you guys do, I've enjoyed so much. Right from the beginning, though, I really feel like we're set up for something different. I mean, it's a bigger thing. It's not just a rock and roll boogie, although there's plenty of rock and roll inside it. What was it you wanted to do this time around? Because it does seem like there's something bigger in mind.
Well, yeah, what's bigger in mind is to develop the songwriting on a wider scope. Have more interesting characters, maybe different types of background for the songs. The Dirty Knobs' first 2 albums pretty much are just boogie rock and roll, which we still are, and there's a lot of that on this record. But we're more than that, and I think I've got more to offer than just the those type of songs. So I wanted to. It just kind of came like wanting to write better songs and see what kind of songs I could find that were maybe not necessarily in a boogie vein. And so I started getting really comfortable with the characters and the different layers of music that can support these type of songs. And so, without losing the Dirty Knobs excitement in it, but mostly, as a writer or artist, you want to just keep getting better and pushing yourself and finding new inspirations, and so it was just an organic kind of flow. It wasn't a big decision made. It's just the songs came out that way.
Yeah. It's also noticeable. I mean, 3 albums in 4 or 5 years. I mean, this is what people do when they just start writing music. This is what you do, as a 20-year-old or something like this. But it's like all these things that you're saying, I still feel like, for some artists, it's a choice to make music. When I mean, you're a legend. You are a part of one of the most, you've written some of the greatest songs of all time. You could rest on it, right? You could. It's a choice to make new music.
Well, it is and it isn't. You don't really have a choice when you have the bug. Once the songwriting bug and musical flow gets in you, you don't really have a choice. You have to follow it, and it's a love, and it's an obsession almost with me, because I love to write and I love to play music in the studio and in front of people. So the choice was made many decades ago that this is what I was going to do. But I love what I do, and I love it just as much as I did when I started out.
Yeah. When you talk about where the Dirty Knobs have come from, and I think you might have said maybe as the press release, but those first 2 albums of trying to find your way as a rock and roll band, even though you all had been around for longer than those, if that first record, like I guess I'm getting back to what this album sounds like. What has that meant? Like,
we're in it for the fun. What can I say? We're in we're I feel grateful to have a band. It's just like a second chapter of my life, and it's like starting over in a way, which is exciting. And writing and singing is a new experience for me, and I'm trying to get better all the time, and I see improvement. And I try to honor my legacy. I have been been very blessed to have a legacy with the Heartbreakers for several decades, and I'm very proud of that work. And I have this band now that allows me to do my own songs and also touch on some of the old material occasionally. In the concerts, we'll play some old songs now and then, just as a tribute to my old brother and those years I did with the Heartbreakers, which I'm very proud of. But I don't want to just do that. I want to honor it and move on and grow. You have to grow and push yourself and inspire yourself. And the Dirty Knobs allows me to do that. They're a great band, and they really support me. And we've got a telepathy now. We've been together long enough that we can kind of intuitively play together without much thought. And all 3 records were done pretty quick. The tracks were not labored over. We learned the song, play it once or twice, and that's it. Move on. And I like it spontaneous, and I like the solos to be live on the floor when at all possible, and as much of the vocal live as you can keep. And I like to keep them on their toes. So we just really enjoyed working together. And I have this new guitar player. Well, he's not new now. I've had him for a couple of years. Chris Holt. We call him Sidewinder. He's from Texas. And he's got a great harmony voice. He can sing lead. He can play guitar. He can play keyboards. I didn't know he could play piano and organ and all this other stuff when I got him in the band, but he's on the record quite a bit. And he could play solos, like some of the solos on the album. I didn't let him work it out. I just said, when we get there, you do something, and he didn't let me down. He's really good. And he's brought the band up to a new level. So I'm just really inspired by playing with these guys. And I just want to keep doing it as long as I can.
Yeah. I was thinking back to, we've talked on both your previous records with the Dirty Knobs. And I find it funny because here you are, you're talking like you play it loose, you keep it loose, a few takes in the studio and there it is. Like, and hearing you talk about your songs in the past, you're always like, yeah, it's just something we did. Like, that there's no, I'm not saying there's not deep thought and intelligent thought, but you make it feel so easy. Like songs like So Alive is such a great one on this record. And Shake These Blues. I mean, that outro jam and solo, like when you guys are together, sure, you're writing these songs. How laborious is it for you on the front end? Because once you get it to the guys, again, you make it sound like it just happens.
Anything that looks easy usually isn't, I asked J.J. Cale's wife, Christine, once about how can his records always sound so comfortable and easy. She goes, he worked hard on those records, and I don't work that hard. I don't have to work that hard getting the guys to play, but I spend a lot of time up front with the songs and refining the lyrics and working out the changes and the dynamics. And I try to have that, pretty well in my head before we count to 4 and go, So the work happens in the songwriting mostly, and the arranging, and then the performance is just them playing.
Yeah, we've invited some great guests along too. Of course, Graham Nash on the first single, "Dare to Dream." I love talking with Graham Nash too, one of the greatest voices of all time. What is it? I mean, I feel like this is an obvious question. Why did you want to tap him?
Well, it is an obvious question. I'm a child of the '60s. I love the Hollies. I love all those bands from England back in the day. But the Hollies, I really liked a lot. Their vocal blend and their songs and arrangements. And I was fortunate enough to get Graham to do an interview with me once. And I got up the courage and said, would you be open to singing on a song with me? And he said, sure, I'll make your song better. And so I sent him this song, Dare to Dream. And I'm still kind of blown away that I have Graham Nash of the Hollies singing on my song, and he did such a great job. He made it sound, the choruses kind of sound like the Hollies. He layered those vocals the way he knows, and put his spirit into it. And I'm just I couldn't be more grateful to have something like that. To have a hero come and help you with your music is the ultimate,
Yeah, I mean that's got to be one of those moments that if what's the cliche? If you get to talk to your younger self, these are the moments, right? These are the moments you put out there.
He didn't just throw it off. He spent time on it, and he really worked on it and made it sound really good. So I have to thank him in person next time I see him.
Yeah, of course, Lucinda's on here. Lucinda was telling me this story last time because we talked probably last year when she put out her newest record, and she was telling me the story just about how important the Heartbreakers was to her launching her career, really, out there live and taken up for as she is opening for you all and everything. And to have her come back around, I mean, that feels like a really good full circle moment. But she's incredible. What she added to here, which is not by far the first time you all have worked together, though, right?
Well, it's the first time we've recorded together.
Okay.
Um, I always was trying to hook up with her. She would want me to come in and play on stuff here and there over the years, but schedules didn't work out. But this time she was in town, and I pleaded with her to sing on the song. She's very shy, but God, is she good. I mean, she's one of the best. She brings such a depth of soul to the song. And having a female voice in that particular song, it's like all these characters, this little mini movie of these two characters getting through this challenging situation. She really made the song twice as good just by having a female perspective. And plus, just the way she sings, I mean, she might be my favorite singer, and there's just something really special about her. And she's so sweet too.
Yeah. And I mean, and she'll tell you, of course, everything basically comes from the school of Bob Dylan, which for her, which seems like a little bit about as well. It's I love how that works. And the female perspective, I know you work a lot with Margot, or you worked some with Margot Price as well. Do you find that
Yeah,
that makes a difference at all, when you get to duet with women, as opposed to like having Stapleton do his thing or something?
the duets, the ones I did with Margot on the last album, and Lucinda on this album, and Graham and Chris Stapleton, the duets were always an afterthought.
Mhm.
I would finish the song and be listening, and then I might think, wow, I wonder if a female voice would add to this song. And so it's usually that's how the process works. Is I get the thought afterwards, and then I go and plead and beg.
I'm sure you
But
have to ask real hard.
she did great. There was another song that was going to be on this album. It didn't make the cut, but it'll be on our next record that she sang on. Was really good. And Lucinda, of course, is a one of a kind. Chris Stapleton, a one of a
Mhm.
kind, a friend of mine, and he came in and sang on a couple of things. And I don't know, I'm just kind of like, I'm just the most lucky guy in the world, really. I don't know what
Yeah.
these people up and help me out.
Now Stapleton is sort of playing the double duty, because I know he's on the country covers, the
Yeah,
album that's coming out with the Heartbreakers. He did I Should Have Known It, which, by the way, if someone said what's the one Petty song that Chris Stapleton should cover, like that's the one. Like that's the one I would have had in my head, and he does that so perfectly. You know.
yeah, he's got a very powerful voice and a very honest delivery. And he's a lot like me. We're like, we feel like we've known each other our whole lives. And I've played that song with him several times on tour. I'll jump up and play it with him. And it's a real thrill to play with Chris. And he does nail that song.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things of seeing you all, I guess it was Bonnaroo, with the Heartbreakers, and every time Tom would hit the line, he opens out his arms with "I Should Have Known It," and it's just an iconic little rock and roll moment that I love. I love
Yeah,
remembering.
I wrote the music and he came up with that great lyric. And, kind of spurned love dude thing.
Yeah, yeah. You're on the country tribute as well with "Ways to Be Wicked," which I love the history of that song, because here you are, you've got the writing credit on that one, but it goes to Lone Justice at first, ends up on the what, the playback compilation, was that what it came out on later? Like, you've got
Yeah,
an interesting history with that song. Why is it stuck around with you? Like, what is it about that song that's like really you've held on to these years?
well, it held on to me. I didn't go dragging it through the mud. We cut that song with Jimmy Iovine, and tried it on a couple of albums. We never really got a great track. There is a version of it that's just a rough run through in the studio live. But I always liked the song, and then Margot decided to do it on her on that album that you talked about, and I sang and played on it with her. And I might do it with the Knobs too. It's just a really good song. It's Tom wrote a great lyric once again. I mean, it's just a great line. You have so many ways to be wicked, but you don't know one little thing. That's just Tom all the way. And so the song has its own life. It just keeps coming back.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those, if any band has been around for long enough, you have the ones that probably should have been a more of a featured song in their moment, whether, you know, B-sides that become hits later on, or like that feels like it's one of those. It's sort of like, you know, it lasted the test of time despite kind of being, you know, put in the
Yeah,
background.
for you. I think it's a testament to the songwriting. Tom and I, together or apart, we were blessed to have these songs come to us, and there's a lot of our album cuts that weren't hits that are really strong songs, and I think they'll stand the test of time. And that just happens to be one of them. And I'm really proud of what Margot did with it. She sang excuse my French, what out of it. And Lone Justice did a great version back in the day. And so I'm really glad that my little child has gone to college, he's graduated and made onto a record again. But I like that version of the song, and I get to sing with a little harmony with her on the song, which is fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a good song. What can I say? It's exuberant. It's got like the drive and the smart ass lyric. It's really good.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I'll bring up about you, because the Heartbreakers, of course, you all did. There was the thing with Dylan at Farm Aid. What was that like? Like, how did that come about?
That's like my life, the story of my life. Things just come into my lap. And I don't know why I'm so blessed and lucky, like the Fleetwood Mac thing. It just happened, and I got a phone call one day out of nowhere. I wasn't thinking about it. And the same thing with Bob. A manager called me and said, manager called, and he wants to do Farm Aid, but he wants Mike to put the band together for him. And he wants to do some old songs that he doesn't do anymore. And so I said, great, so we threw it together really fast and had some ragged rehearsals and a ragged show, but it had a lot of frenetic energy, and it was a surprise. Nobody knew he was going to show up, and me and Ben got to revisit that arena with him, and it was a joy. It's just one of those things that kind of just came and happened.
Yeah, that was my wife was there. I was at home. She had the phone on the entire time, the video, and I'm watching it through the video the whole time. What a moment that was. It was
Well, the cool thing was that it was totally unannounced,
mhm.
and he had to keep it a secret. And so they were expecting Willie Nelson to come up and close the show. And all of a sudden, these guys wander up. And I've talked to a few people in the audience, and they go like, "We didn't know what it was." And then all of a sudden, "Oh my God, it's him! And it's Mike and Ben!" And "Oh my God!" It was one of those kind of excitement things.
Yeah, I love it. Bob to Jacob. Jacob's going to be out doing the Bringing Down the Horse tour this year, playing that album for the first time ever. That's you on Sixth Avenue Heartache, right? You did the guitar on that?
Yeah, that's my guitar. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to see you out there doing that if that moment ever happens.
A funny thing about that guitar line, uh, Jacob sent me the tape, and I just put my bed on it real quick, with a slide and all. Didn't think much about it, and it came out and it was really good. The hook, the guitar hook, kind of makes the song in a lot of ways. Anyway, later on, I bumped into George Harrison, and he goes, "Hey, I heard that Jacob Dylan song." I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "So you're doing me now?" Which is a great compliment. He thought it sounded like me channeling him, which it might have been.
How can you not?
Subconscious.
I mean, that stuff's so ingrained in everybody, it's you can't escape it. None of us can escape it. I love that stuff. I love this new record, Vagabonds, Virgins, and Misfits. It's so great to always have music from you and the Dirty Knobs. And seriously, Mike, I'm always so grateful that you take the time to talk about it.
Thanks, Kyle. I appreciate your time, and we are really proud of this record. I think it's better than the other ones in a lot of ways. Not to disparage the first two records, but it's the songs are deeper, and there's variety on it, and we're just really proud of it. A good group of songs.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them live. I know that's where it always opens up.
Oh yeah, you got to learn them all.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All three of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.